That's it. We're recording. Let's start this.
Okay.
Cecile Gordon, or C. Gordon, I think you go
Hello.
nowadays. How are you doing? We've met. Well, first, thank you very much for doing this. I've been admiring your photos online for a long time now. You take amazing shots of fights, Muay Thai, and is there kickboxing in there as well sometimes?
Yeah, there's a bit of everything. I did a couple of handful of MMA shows as well when Cage Warriors were doing shows in Ireland. I think they were like kind of 31st of December or something like that, and I had nothing else to do but to go and take pictures. But I do prefer Muay Thai as a practitioner, ex-practitioner now I should say, a little bit. But yeah, Muay Thai is my thing, yeah.
You've been, well, we've met a long time ago now, it feels like a lifetime ago. I think it was in Bundoran, and it was sort of an art
surfing,
art surf exhibition of sorts.
Yeah.
Actually, I have great memories because everybody had a great time. Everybody looked like they were having a great time. It was in this sort of surf club, but they were set up in this old house as well. That you didn't mind if it got trashed.
Surf and surf.
Yeah, surf and surf. That's right.
The dogs are coming here.
But it was a great weekend, and I actually met.
It was fab. I'm still in touch with Ivona and Zach, and you know yourself. They're well on Facebook as well. And,
yeah. I'm in contact with them through Facebook. I've been trying actually to get Ivona to do one of these at some point. We'll talk about her.
Oh, she'd be class at that, yeah.
Yeah, and she's very nice to talk to. It's just I found the time, and I ended up having a backlog of people who wanted to do this. So I was like, okay, I need to slow things down a bit, get people in, do these, and then I'll get Ivona at some point because I'd love to talk to her about it.
Yeah. She's so creative. I love what she does. Really, like. I like reading her stuff as well. Like she's so imaginative, you know, and it's nice to have people around like her, like that, you know.
Yeah. And the two of them actually, her husband is pretty funky as well.
Zach is also. I like their season's greetings. I don't know if it was Christmas.
Yeah, there's a lot of folks who won't know what we're talking about, but we're talking about eccentric people and creative characters here.
Yeah.
Which is what the podcast is actually essentially about. Because I met a few people at this party, and there was a lot of very creative people. You had some art on display as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I still painted back then. I pretended to do something, but I just liked doing it, so I didn't really think twice. I think Ivona started that. Well, then we exhibited a few things in Dublin after that, but we had a great day. Pascal was there as well, and people like that. To be honest, I haven't really had the time to paint since. I've done so many other things.
You are busy indeed. Paintings takes a lot of time. You have to set that time and space.
True.
You look like you're busy. Like you're always putting tons of pictures of those fights online.
That's my evenings and my weekends, and like Sundays like today I mostly sleep because they don't happen very often, so I spend it. I'm in bed pretty much all day, and I do everything from bed: the photos, my own work, the work that pays the rent, and but yeah, the photos, it happens. 2 weeks ago we were in Belfast, and it was a great show. So now I go, rather than to go, I usually went for free everywhere, and I took pictures for free because Muay Thai was my thing. Like I had the Muay Iron website, and I wanted to promote the sport and encourage practitioners to take part in the sport themselves and then make it what they wanted to be, you know. And the photos were a great way to start doing a bit more, like in interviewing people and doing that sort of thing. And then I did that for 3-4 years. I had people helping me as well. And then what happened is that I had a promotion at work, and that started to take a lot more of my time. I had to take it very seriously, and not that I didn't take it seriously before. But you have this extra pressure to don't fuck up, Sissy. I wasn't able to continue, but I know people appreciated, the efforts at least. And now there's so many people covering shows, there are other people doing a much better job. So I didn't, I miss it from time to time, but I know it's either I have the time and I do it really well, 100%, or I just don't go in at all.
It's hard to commit to sports like that in general, especially obviously when you're doing it out of your own money and free time.
Yeah.
And I've been the same. You commit to something for a while and then you have to opt out because it's just life and other things. But it's I've seen you've posted a good bit though recently, so obviously you found the time to go back to a few matches and.
But it's like it goes so fast as well. Ring sports, you have new fighters all the time, and now with MMA, taking such proportions in Ireland, you have young fighters, getting sooner in the ring, and I didn't miss a lot of fights. I slowed down heavily at the end of last year, and then I went back for one or two in March, and people say, "Oh, it's so great to see you ringside again." Like I had gone for like 10 years,
Yeah, I know.
That's how fast it goes for people. It's one show after another show. There's another 3 shows this month. And now for me it's more BJJ than anything, because that's what I'm interested in now. And there's an element of loyalty to Muay Thai that's just still at the surface, but I have to do what interests me when I have the time, and when I want to do it. Then for me it's BJJ now. I'm really taken by it, really obsessed by it.
When did you take up BJJ then? When did you start that?
I started in 2016. I started at the start of the year in Kyuzo with Barry Oglesby, and I really liked it really straight away. It's a lot more. The learning curve is massive. I mean, for months you have no idea what you're doing, like zero. It's very frustrating. I hated that.
Yeah, if you haven't done any grappling or wrestling, BJJ
like nothing. You have the reaction of a Muay Thai fighter with your arms, and you grab people, and you have no bloody idea. It's terrible. And then things start to happen, and then suddenly after months of being completely absolutely lost, you kind of things start to fall together like a little Tetris game. You see things happening, So
if I put my neck there, I get jacked.
You learn fast.
I know from judo. I did my first ever BJJ class yesterday actually, and it was really interesting because there was a few of us from the judo club I'm a member of, so we went there. And we put all our white belts on because we're beginners. So, and then we realized there was a few guys from karate as well, from Kyokushin. There was a few guys from Taekwondo, fellas as well. So everybody on the mat was a black belt of something, and with a few dans as well. So none of us were beginners really, but it was funny to see everybody with white belts. And but you could see clearly that obviously the judo guys had a huge advantage because groundwork is very similar. So for us, the trick was really to try to sort of unlearn a lot of judo stuff, which is really hard because some of it is very similar. And instead of focusing on just, well, this is how we do it and this is how it works, it was interesting to try and just put that aside, forget about it, and just focus on what the guy was teaching us instead. And I like the attitude. Everybody's attitude was just fantastic and amazing. Like in judo, it is, and in general, I've done karate as well for a while. They're usually pretty humble guys, not always, but it was cool to see the respect of everybody's respect for the coach and for each other in that class. Yeah, I'll definitely repeat that. Actually, I'll probably take a membership and and
I think it's great. It's good for the ego as well. Like you say, you have to unlearn, just forget what you know and accept the fact that you don't know anything. And that's it. And just then the process starts. But for a long time, you're a beginner for a long time, for a very long time. So the process is important. I spent most of my time on the ground, on my back, trying to escape and trying to resist, and it sucks most of the time. But but I really like it. Like it's a very different game than the striking game as well. Like. Yeah, so like you were saying, so you started yesterday. That was your first yesterday.
Yeah, and it's nice. It's a 2-hour class.
2 hours is good. Like,
see, when I was a kid doing judo, there were 2-hour classes as well. So so you have time to warm up.
Yeah.
Have time to just drill some things, and then you do some.
And then roll a bit.
Yeah, some randori, or they call it whatever they call it. I forgot. It's randori in judo, but and
rolling.
You're rolling, and then some cool down or warm down, which is very nice as well. But coming from judo, there's a lot of, BJJ did come from judo, so obviously all the holds, all the strangles, all the arm locks we'd be familiar with, but BJJ also brings the shoulder, the neck. But
you have to add the weight, the pressure, pressure that someone is actually lighter than you, but is able to concentrate that pressure on a simple point that you can't do anything about. That's really annoying as well.
So coming from judo, we're not lost in that environment, but there's a lot of new stuff we have to think about, like the legs suddenly are super vulnerable. So rolling with a guy, and then he got my legs, and I was like, oh, I don't know what's going on here. That's it. That's it. I'm back to being lost.
I'm at the stage that when like things happen, I'm rolling, I'm resisting most of the time, and then I see a position, and then suddenly my brain goes, "You've seen that, and it's gone, it's passed already." You know?
Yeah.
It's a bit like in language, when it's not your native language, you have that joke, and it's gone already, and you lost all sense of timing. You know? But things are starting to happen. It's very rewarding, even if it's small. You know, you almost, and I have my notes. I take notes after every session. It's hard to reread, but you go back to the start and you're like, oh yeah, okay, I can't see the progress myself, but if I read what I wrote the first few days and what I write now, it's very, very, very different.
Yeah.
But I would tend to overanalyze the whole thing, to death, so I try not to write too much either. But
I'm the same as well. I have a tendency to just, when I get into something, I get into it 100%, and then an extra 10% after that. Like I can't do things halfway. So right now I'm training in judo twice a week, and with that class, and I had to stop karate because I couldn't continue training. It was just too many nights a week. But with that class coming, I'm gonna get into BJJ too much now, but it's a nice compliment for judo because it's not like I'm doing something different, But it's more of that. So I might just train once a week in judo and then do the other classes.
It's still good. If I was any younger, I would have gone into wrestling, I think, because it looks like so much fun. Like proper wrestling.
Yeah.
The guys look so agile, so amazing. They're like panthers, they get into some position, like it just makes me cringe now, But I think had I started something, wrestling would have been, it's so impressive. And it looks like fun too.
It is heaps of fun. I don't know. I did judo when I was a kid. I started when I was 7. And then I stopped when I, approached 16, 17, because I got my interest on other things. And and then picked it up again, I think I was 38 or 37 or something like that. But I hadn't my black belt back then, so I went up all the way up to brown belt.
Yeah.
What I did, because then there's a almost 30-year break or 20 years break, less than that. My math isn't great, but there's too long of a break for me to walk back on the mat with a brown belt. So I literally I went to the coach. I said, look, I used to be, this belt. I'm gonna put a white belt. So I said, treat me like I know a bit. I'm gonna grade at the same pace as everybody. I don't want, because they were like, do you want your brown belt straight away? I was like, no, I can't.
Please no.
Yeah, so I regraded entirely. That took a while, but I eventually got my black belt just before my 40th birthday. And I did it with a friend of mine who'd never done judo. He'd never done any martial arts or anything like that. And he was my age as well, probably a year younger. And he got his black belt as well, coming from smoking heavily and drinking a lot and overweight. And he broke his leg in the process, but he came back and he got his black belt before me, the fucker. So,
oh wow.
So it's not too late. It's just it does take dedication though.
It does, but again, I couldn't imagine, just training once a week and be happy with it. I just can't something like that. And then I got injured last year, back in January 2017, with my back. And then it took some months before I could even walk properly. So I lost a whole year basically on doing rehab and all that.
What happened?
A bulging disc, but it was misdiagnosed for a long time. So for a long time I didn't really. I knew I was really sore. I knew there was something wrong. But I kind of delayed getting the MRI and everything, doing physio instead. So after the MRI, it was clear that there was actually something, there, and then they recommended surgery, and I said, I played with the idea for a long time, surgery, rehab. So surgery, it could be good, and in 3 months you could be training again, as if nothing happened, or you could spend thousands in the surgery and nothing could happen at all. Or you could rehab the thing for a year and a half, basically. So I took the rehab option because, I don't know, it seemed to work, then it did seem to work, then I was depressed, then it was getting better, then I went training, then I got really sore again. It was really up and down for months and months and months and months. And it's only this month, I can train, several days in a row. If I that's what I was saying to Dave the other day, that when we were training I was training a lot when I'm in my teens, athletics and stuff like that, and then in university I stopped everything. But at the start of Thai, I started very late. I was 30 already, and you were sore, you were going home, you were having a protein shake, you were having a shower, you were going to bed. Now I have a protein shake, the bath is running, I have my zinc, magnesium. So I have to take care of the body a lot more now than used to. But the hot bath is key at the moment. It's in no way ecological to take a small bath every day, but that's what keeps the body together, it looks like.
Yeah. I built myself a jacuzzi and sauna room.
I saw your pictures.
So it comes in very handy, because Friday I was training judo, and that's late, so you come back, you just have food, go to bed, and then Saturday I got up and then went to first BJJ class, so that was 2 hours, and then decided to go surfing after that. Saturday I was just gone. I'm glad I have something like the jacuzzi here I can use.
Yeah.
Just to relax a bit.
I'll
be 43 this year. Things don't come as easy as they used to. But I'm doing well, I think. I've been on a diet as well recently. I've stopped all sugars and carbs and all that kind of stuff.
You stopped all the carbs?
Yeah. Well, no breads, no.
What is wrong with you?
It was in February. I was getting gaining weight easily, and I decided to stop all breads and pasta, obviously pizza and that kind of stuff. So all processed carbs. I still have fruits, bananas, and apples, this ton of carbs and that. But and then just no sugar, no processed sugar. And just from that, I haven't changed anything else. I haven't changed the way I exercise. I still have a fry if I want to, and then I still have the same stuff. But I started in February, and I lost 12 kilos just doing
Wow.
easy. So yeah, and I feel great.
Yeah.
There's obviously something in there, and I haven't been injured in training at all. So now I'm thinking maybe I should pick up competition again in judo and get my.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. So yeah, you were competing in judo even in your when you stopped for 20 years, then you started judo again, and you didn't compete when you started again.
I did, yeah.
You did.
Yeah. So in judo, to get the belt system, you get up to green belt. So you start as white, yellow, orange, green, and that's given by your coach. And then once you get your green, you have to get points in officially sanctioned competitions.
Right.
At national level. So to get your blue, you have 4 fights and you have to win 2. For your brown, it's the same, and then to get your black, you have to get 100 points. And points then are awarded if you win a match on a e-pawn, which is either a clean throw or a submission or hold, where the person taps out. You get 10 points, and if it's or just on points, you've acquired here and there during the fight, you just get 7 points. So it's 10 fights you have to win in the year, so you have to go to competition. There's no way around.
Yeah, it's all of them. Yeah.
And it's mixed, and so you're 40 and now you're fighting a squad member who's in his 20s. It's gonna hurt.
Stop!
So but then you get your black belt and you've earned it. You've earned it in a real setting, within the confine of the rules, obviously.
So, and where do you train in BJJ then? Where's the gym?
Athenry. There's a few places around because it's just so popular now. It's popular. But I train judo in Oranmore, and then Athenry isn't far from where I am. It's either way. So, and I used to train judo in Athenry as well, and I know the guys. So yeah, I'll be going back next weekend.
Nice. So maybe you'll be competing at the Irish Open then in May?
I've seen that. No way. No. I was joking with the competition. I'm too.
Yeah.
I never enjoy competition. I get too stressed, way too stressed.
Oh, the nerves.
Yeah. It's funny. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, I struggled a lot with that with Thai. Yeah.
And I don't know why, because it's once the fight starts, it's no different than what you were doing in training. In fact, it's probably
sometimes it's even easier.
Yeah.
But it's going to the venue. It's waiting in the changing rooms. It's the other fighters coming back when they're finished and seeing the massive anticlimax, and you're still in the pre-fight zone. It's horrible. It makes me sick just to think about it.
Yeah, likewise. It's not a pleasant. Some people thrive on it. Some people love it. I never enjoyed it.
But for me, as soon as the walkout starts, it's fine,
Yeah. It's the going there. It's the arriving, it's the waiting, and then you don't know who you're fighting because you just don't know. So you're looking at everybody around and going, "Is that him? Oh God, I hope that's not him."
It's like there in Thailand. Dave would tell you as well. But every time I fought there, you get your massage and you warm up in the same area as everyone else. So the person you're fighting is just next. You can see each other. So they kind of their coaches look at you like they even come and touch you. To see if you have as much fat as the other one.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
you feel
God.
a bit like cattle at times. Yeah, I felt the nerves a lot when I was fighting in Ireland, but not in Thailand at all. There was no nerves in Thailand simply because you know nobody, and you're probably in great shape and you've been training really, really hard. So, win or lose in Thailand, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
It's the experience that counts over there. Like, unless you're a fighter sponsored by a Thai gym and you live there all year round, then, my experience in Thailand is fairly limited, with a handful of fights, but
When were you there?
I was there 4 times in total, but like only twice in 2015, 2016 was I there for 7-8 weeks at a time to train and fight. So either Bangkok or my last trip was in Samui. But yeah, I miss it this year, and
It's a hell of a holiday. I'm going somewhere on holiday just to get punched in the face.
and to give back.
Yeah. How many fights did you have there?
I had 3 fights there in total. Yeah, which is not a lot, but every time. Well, you think you're fit when you get there. You think the first time you think I'm going to train well before I get there. Then you get there, the weather hits you first, and suddenly you do one round and you can't breathe anymore, and you've lost 10 liters of water already in your first half a day of training. So it's it takes me a couple of weeks to deal with the weather first, and then you start training for real after that, and you get in shape fairly quickly because of the incentive. There's 2 trainings a day, you run twice a day, and the way you eat as well, you eat maybe something more simple, you eat more, but you lose the weight in very rapidly, and you get in shape really quickly, and I miss that. I miss going there and living very simply. Sometimes you live at the gym, it's very gritty, you have the minimum of luxury, and it's great. It's like going to a monastery, the Muai Thai monastery for 7 weeks. You're just in there.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle. It's not just
you really have to want it. I've in terms of sports and athletes, I think Thai boxers, they work really, really fucking hard, really hard.
Yeah.
You would see now people going for their first fight in Ireland. They train for a full year every night, and the level has picked up because people are really dedicated. They're really hardworking athletes. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen in very little time now, in the few years I've picked judo again, but I've seen Ireland just jump from just being amateurs in some sports, in judo anyway, to the level is actually pretty good here now. It's on par with what I've seen. France is great for judo.
It's big.
There's a club in every village almost.
Yeah.
And now there's a national squad, and they train seriously. There's few people officially employed by the IGA now. It's been great to watch that happen, and I wonder how much does something like MMA had to do with the popularity and professionalism we're seeing now in a lot of clubs, because
I think it's big, MMA has impacted a lot on that, on people at least getting awareness that this is happening as well. We were so niche before, but when the whole Conor McGregor thing happened, you would have people reaching to the Muay Thai gym, asking if we were training UFC, just
yeah.
People didn't know about it, but they became interested really rapidly. And then, for better or for worse, the style as well of MMA is kind of pervading K1 and things like that. People move differently, and it's interesting. It's just as a social experiment, with everything that's happening. I don't know.
I've seen people come in the club who had young fellow decided they wanted to pick up MMA, and I've seen a few come in the club because they want to pick up a few throws and strangles and that kind of stuff. And every time you kind of feel for them because they don't know how to move. They just joined an MMA club that told them it's good, it's healthy and that kind of stuff, but they quickly realize that to do MMA, you have to be super proficient in something else first. You know?
Yeah.
And like your core, that just takes years. It's not something you can develop overnight. But at least it got them an interest. But I think the positive side of it I'm seeing is that you see a lot of people like myself moving from one art to the other, just going to a few lessons of this and a few lessons of that, just to pick up different skills and learning how to move differently in your own element. The funny thing is I picked up judo as well because I wanted to get fitter for surfing. I could see myself just getting a bit more reserved and not going on some waves I would have gone on before in surfing. So I was like, okay, I need to get fitter and learn how to take a few on the head as well. There's one sport I know for a fact helps you fall properly and where you're going to fall a lot. Judo. So I went back to judo. I ended up doing what I always do, is going 100% into that, and forgot about surfing. And I haven't surfed. I probably surf 3-4 times a year now, whereas I used to go like at least twice a week.
Yeah. I used to surf when we met. After that, I went surfing quite a lot, and then I was not. Was it 2010, Ollie?
I think because 1990.
No. But anyway, I went. I was not, because I was not boxing just yet. So I went surfing a lot, and then what happened? I had a car accident, and then in Wicklow. And I totaled my car completely, and I had a surfboard in the car, and I almost beheaded myself with it as the car kind of flipped over several times. And and all I could think about is like, I'm a goner, I'm never going to be surfing again. You know, that's all I could think about. And then after that, I told.
Was it from the fin? You were afraid the fin was going to hit you, or?
It was towards not the fin. The whole board was in length in the car, so it was navigating from left to right as the car.
How bad of an accident was it?
It was bad enough, but I got nothing at all. So then I didn't have a car for a very long time, so couldn't go surfing. So I said to myself, I really need to do something in Dublin that I can go every night if I want to just to get the energy out. I don't know why I told myself that I would be very good at punching and kicking people. Just had that streak in me, I suppose. And then I started Muay Thai maybe a couple of weeks later, and then that was it. But after the surfing, though, I really I still loved it. So when I decided to offer myself a solo road trip in the States, I did all the Pacific One roads with board and started surfing a little bit. And then that's why I kind of relate to your big waves. There were some much bigger waves over there that there had been in Van Doorn, or there were some waves I didn't go for. Like, I'm not a good swimmer to start with. I'm okay, but no, it was far too big for me.
You certainly need to be comfortable in the water anyway, and well, in that environment without a surfboard as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The amount of time I've lost my board because the leash snapped, and then obviously if it snaps, it's on a bigger wave than normal, and you're there in the impact zone, and you have to swim back out, because there's nobody's coming for you. So that happens a lot. Yeah, you learn to deal with it. It's like everything. It's like fighting. You just learn to deal with it. It's funny. I get the same sort of goosebumps whenever it's a solid day. I still get those goosebumps. Your stomach is like, okay, well, let's go. You're here now. It's I get the same goosebumps and feeling as when you go fighting in competition.
Yeah, it's the fight or flight kind of thing that you get the pre-fight. Even with they were talking about that when he was fighting in Thailand. He was saying, you arrive with your scooter, and he would actually make a point in arriving exactly a couple of minutes before his fight, not half an hour before, because otherwise he would think too much.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, it was more, you know, I could just go now and no one would know. I could just go home and not having to deal with this, you know. But unfortunately, I know the benefits of dealing with it is on the other side. Everything changes, you know, especially if you win, like everything changes and you can't wait to do it all over again. It's very, very addictive.
I find win or lose, the elation of the post-fight elation is just, you're going...
It's class.
Yeah,
there's nothing like it.
Yeah, it's amazing because
I love winning.
So do I. I'd rather win than lose. But even when I lose, you know, you kind of, you find this respect for the other person, and then you hug, and then you smile, you laugh about it. Like, it's just... But the post-fight, especially when you've had a nice fight, a good solid fight, and even if you lose, you're just happy that you had that nice fight. It's I don't think you can describe it to somebody who haven't gone through that. It's like surfing. I don't think you can describe it to somebody who hasn't tried it, you know.
It's a one kind of feeling that you want to experience again, you know. And I suppose fighters who stop in their 30s and 40s, they could continue because they have the skill, but it must be very sad when you lose that, you know, that desire, like, or that, you know, like it's no longer fun anymore. And you know, when everything becomes a chore, then that, you know.
Oh, I'm gonna sign up for a fight. Psyching myself up. So your husband...
It's class. It's so class. And I think striking, I mean, I still find it hard to say the two BJJ players are fighting. For me, they're not fighting. They're rolling. You know, they're wrestling. Like, fighting for me implies striking and, like, stand-up striking. And, like... it's just something so primal about it, you know, like, not that I liked damaging people, but you can't, I mean, obviously you can't do that anywhere, you know what I mean, but it releases something different in you that you might have or you might not have. It's not something that develops, it's something that you strengthen, but I think I had that in me somehow, you know. And when you don't practice anymore, you can still use what you've learned in life, you know. Like, I think now that I'm dealing better with the stress, for instance, or, you know, nothing really fazed me, or I'm, you know, for a high anxiety person, I'm more relaxed now than I used to be.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, I get that a lot at work, because I went through a period there of just a lot of shit at work, and then but I remember somebody going, you're very level-headed for somebody who's going through all that. And I was like, I wrestle grown men in my free time, you know, bringing on, like, you know. It's what else can I, you know, phase me? It's just, but I think for confidence in general, the long-term benefit is definitely just confidence. No, and I'm not talking about sort of you know, alpha posturing, but just general confidence in yourself and your place where you are. When I was a kid, I was extremely shy when I was a kid, so I couldn't go into a shop and ask for stuff if I didn't know where it was in the shop. So I'd literally walk in and just get that, grab it, and not say anything. So, but it was that level of shyness. It took me. Judo definitely helped, because now I learned a method, a way to do it and adapt. And so you learn the method first, and then you learn how to adapt and adapt it to different situations. And it really helped me develop my character as a person. Music was another one as well, because that's another thing where you're very exposed, playing live music, you know.
You were already involved heavily in music when I met you, right?
Yeah, well, so I'd moved to the West, but I lived in Dublin for about 10 years. I was playing there a lot, like I was playing most nights, you know. I even went almost full time just playing music for a while. I hated it. So I still play a lot of music, honestly. The
and where did you learn to fix
arcade machines?
I won't say machines. Where? When did that happen? Like,
I don't know. I got one. It broke, so I had to learn how to fix it. You know.
Yeah, that's good enough explanation, I suppose.
It's really
Have you ever listened to that podcast, the S Town podcast?
I have not, no. S-Town
Uh,
podcast.
it's a podcast made by one of the producers of This American Life, and he meets that guy in the States. I don't want to tell too much about that because that's not the purpose of your interview. But,
Please, the purpose in this, it's actually barely an interview, really.
He's basically meeting that eccentric guy in the middle of nowhere in the States, and the guy fixes clocks, and he fixes antique clocks, sundials. Like he's super eccentric, but obviously probably is on the spectrum somewhere. But it gives him an edge. Like he's very clever in many ways, but socially. Just can't get it together, and his life, his environment doesn't impacts on that a lot as well.
Wow.
But he fixes clocks and sundials, and then after the podcast is finished, basically I learned that he was it's a small niche thing. I mean, clock repairs and things like that. But people were contacting him from all over the world to fix their clocks and their old antique stuff. Like mad. He like mechanisms, and he had everything. Just mental. Like, and not once did he really talk about that during him being interviewed for hours and hours and hours for that podcast. Like. Weird.
What's the name of the guy who runs the podcast? Was he on Rogan?
Brian Reed. Huh?
Was he on Joe Rogan podcast a while back talking about? There was a guy that does that. He goes around, meet eccentric people, and then interviews them. Maybe.
Well, if it was him, I didn't hear.
Then I
Brian Reed is his name, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's class, like, and then people like you who decided to get away from big smoke and fixing stuff, playing, repairing machines, like it's. I think it's great to see that, like, because you fixed your own house as well, didn't you? You pretty much did it yourself.
Yeah, well, yeah. That's the only thing That's the only thing I could afford when I moved here. So
yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of work that needed to be done, and still, I was actually just before this. I was on the roof fixing a few slates.
Right.
So yeah.
And did you learn that yourself, or like?
Yeah, again, it's necessity. I mean, it's it's with the internet nowadays. It's so easy to learn stuff. If you don't know something, you really don't have an excuse.
Yeah,
the excuse is you didn't look it up. That's really what it is. So if I want to know how to fix slates, I mean, there's probably 20 videos. I found a few. So, but yeah, there's 20 videos for any skills you want to learn, really.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I mean, I'm still fascinated with the internet, and how much that has opened the door for people like me, for everybody, for this to happen.
Yeah. And all the other weirdos.
Yeah, and all the other weird stuff that happen on it. There's quite a good bit in that. But
it's class, like, because every time, sometimes you take pictures of the house in Kinvara, and you're like, oh man, I would drop everything to be in this house, like. And
I did.
Oh, that's a great morning, and go, hey, look at what I'm seeing in the morning. It's like, hey, you.
I don't show you the photos when it's piss and rain and muddy and.
I'm sure it's still great. Great.
But we'll have to get you over. Actually, you'll have to come yourself and your husband.
Yeah.
Is he still heavily involved with Muay Thai then?
Yeah. He has his own gym. Yeah, Hammerhead Gym. That's what he does. And he was at a show yesterday, Soft Muay Thai show, run by Ronan McCarthy, and so he came back, and then he was working. So he came back really late, and then he had a private lesson to teach this morning at 10, so he didn't sleep much. Okay. So he's downstairs on the couch getting a I don't know what it is at this stage. It's nap slap. it's not even a nap. It's 5 hours.
And I wouldn't like to see cranky.
Hungry or.
I find it funny though. Yeah, what you said. Well, what he said about going to a fight just a few minutes before, so he can deal. Like, it never leaves you. Even. You know, because he's quite proficient in Muay Thai, isn't he?
Yeah, like, but he had all these fights in Thailand.
Yeah, and he's not a small fella.
No, he's no, he's big. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting.
Like, admittedly, it's not. Huh?
It's interesting that even somebody like that, has some stress, a pre-fight stress, or like that never goes. Everybody has it.
Oh, yeah, no, no. I've seen, and I won't name names because they're pretty big names, and I've seen them in the changing rooms, and they were just mentally collapsing,
Yeah.
just folding completely, emotionally, mentally, and those people, you only see them in the ring or in the cage, and you're like, wow, my God, they really have it together. Whereas 5 minutes earlier, they were just shitting bricks, basically.
I've seen a guy go all the way to brown, and we went to competitions together, and when he got his brown belt and started training for black, he disappeared and never came back. And then it was that I got a chance to chat to him afterwards. We met, and then I was like, "What happened?" He said, "I can't do it. I can't deal with it.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Like, you go all that way." And he had done fights to get his blue and his brown belt. Couldn't do the black belt. It's not.
And that it's really, really sad in a way, because I think even for people like that, it's very, very difficult to live with something like that in your head, that you quit. You didn't actually do it. Like, it's some massive unfinished business, and
it's clearly unfinished. I think it's worse than not starting.
Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. No, actually, like, it happened to me I pulled out a fight because 4 days before the weigh-in, I did my ankle while running.
Yeah.
And there's nothing worse than having prepared for 8 weeks and failing in the last week. And I although it's not my will to pull out that fight, something happened to my body. I felt terrible.
Yeah, it's
terrible not to go. See that the fight makes you go on the other side.
Yeah.
For me, the fight is what keeps you from not knowing yourself very well to knowing yourself a lot more on the other side, and not having that release of the fight after weeks and weeks of, you go through absolute hell for 8 weeks on training camp, like, and not to have that kind of reward at the end is really, really horrible. And then what people experience as well after the fight is the anticlimax. Suddenly, whether you win or lose, you have that massive going down. First the adrenaline goes down, and then it's all finished, and then what the fuck am I supposed to be doing? There's a massive anticlimax, like, and some people have tendency to get quite depressed after. So it's really up and down, and not to mention the weight cutting and all that kind of stuff, and that's so hard on the body and the mind as well.
I remember feeling very, very hold on. I remember feeling very underwhelmed after I got my black belt, because the fights were in Dublin, so you drive there, you psych yourself up, etc., and I got the points. So the last fight, and you have 5 fights, so even if you still get the points on your first fight, you still have to do the next 4.
All right. Okay.
So you do all your 5 fights, and you don't give them away. So that was my case. I still had 4 fights, and I still wanted to win them, even though I didn't need the points. So you give it 100%. So I was driving back, and going. After the fact, I realized, and I had my black belt, and I was given the black belt. But driving back, which is a 2-hour drive, and just going. I don't feel anything, actually. I'm not sure why was I. Well, at first I was like, why was I so stressed about this?
Yeah.
And then I was like,
I'm not super happy.
Yeah, is that it? I think the goal. It's nice to have the goal of the belt, obviously, but I think the real pleasure is the fights themselves, or the training. In my case, I love the training.
Yeah, for me it was seeing the body changing, seeing the body getting really strong and really, like, ready for function, you know, like, you know, it's nice to feel not invincible, but it's nice to feel super strong. Like, I really like the feeling of I have nothing to worry about, you know.
It's funny because when you start training and then you get like that, you get stronger and more efficient, and then you realize, oh my God,
there's a lot more.
No, yeah. First you realize there's some really, really strong people around, but then you realize, you go, oh my God, I was so incredibly fucking weak. I had no idea. You know, if somebody had happened to me, there's nothing I would have been able to do.
Yeah. That's when you get injured as well. Suddenly, you know, you go from training twice a day to not be able to train at all. Never mind, you know, not walking or anything, and you can see your body just, I'm not going to say, you know, deteriorating, but you're losing so much muscle. You're you know, and you know how long it takes to get it back. And how long, the more I'm calculating the days I've stopped to calculate how long it's going to take me back, you know, how long I'm going to have to train that hard.
But even when you miss training, so let's just say you miss training, you go on holidays for 2 weeks, you miss 2 weeks of training.
Yeah.
So you've missed 2 weeks, and then to get back, it's going to be another week. And hope maybe if you're lucky, after your third week of going back, you'll be back to the level that you were at just before you left. So actually, if you miss 2 weeks, you've lost 5 weeks. You know, it's
exactly. And it's never been so true than with BJJ, because I think with striking, I don't know, like maybe it's the body memory. With striking, even if I miss 2 weeks, I'll still be in it. But with BJJ, if you miss a little, you come back and everything's gone.
Yeah,
everything's gone.
I find the same. I found that if I missed karate, it wasn't a big deal. I could actually just, you know, rehearse a bit and do a bit before, and then after a week I was right back. With judo, it's 5 weeks. 2 weeks is 5 weeks. You know, that's the way I see it. It's because it just requires so much. You know, everything is engaged. You know, your core is just so tightened to do BJJ or judo. It's just.
I just don't want to become. You know, I'm not 40 yet, but
Lucky.
I turned 38 last week. But. I already say things like, oh, when I was, you know, younger, you know, or, oh, yeah, I really have to do that a bit more now that I'm, you know, 30 something, you know, like I don't want to have the case of the nostalgia of having, you know, been somewhere where I was very happy with competition and good, and you know, to someone's like, oh, you know, I can't do bear crawls because it hurts my back. You know?
Well,
it's fucking terrible.
I have bad news for you. Well, look at me. I'm 43. I'm starting BJJ. I'm still doing judo. I need to finish karate at some point, but
when will you know it's finished?
I stopped training because it's just I don't have time. It's a time issue, but I don't think, especially actually, I think stuff like karate. To be honest, though, I can see myself picking it up again when I'm in my 50s or 60s.
Really?
Yeah. It's not super physically demanding, I have to say. Like, so I'm sure this karate people here are not going crazy, but of between karate and judo is definitely one of the most physically demanding workout I've ever done. And I've tried Muay Thai. No, it just by its very nature of the exercise required, you know, lifting and that kind of stuff. I have to say though, Muay Thai lads are fit as fuck. the circuit training, I've tried a few sessions, and it wasn't a problem of keeping up. It's just that I could go through the session, and then this was just the first session for these guys. Like they were, you know, they were going back home, and then they were coming back later on to do a second one for their training, and I was like, Oh, okay. That's
All right.
see. But then again, when that's what you train, when it's, what you do is circuit training, obviously you're gonna get super strong. But it's
Super
good.
strong, super fast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I have to say it's a feeling that I miss. Although I don't miss the feeling that 6 o'clock in the morning in Thailand, it's starting to get warm, and you have a knock on your door. It's the little kids going for their morning 18K, and they're like,
God.
"Come on, it's time to start." Hated every single minute of that. Um, but again, I would do it again in a split second.
Would you? Would you go back training? Have you stopped altogether, or?
For Muay Thai?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it's really in the past. Like I'm having troubles imagining training without competing, and without competing, Thai is great for the body. I mean, it's I'm much more tired after a Thai session than a BJJ session. It's just not the same tiredness.
Yeah.
But the competition, to be honest, the weight cut. When I think of it, I have shudders. I just can't. Why I put myself through that again?
Yeah, that's a super tough part of it.
It's harsh, and I can't see myself doing another, going down to 57 or 57 kilo, being 64, walking 64 now. It's not out of reach, but I have to want it, and I don't think I want it enough.
Yeah. But I mean, so in my case, I decided I don't want to do competition anymore, which means I'll probably never get my dans, the second dan, third dan. Again, never say never, but I've gone with judo at least in the more coaching direction as well. So I help a lot in the club now.
Yeah.
And every now and then I do one in the class, so it's actually been a nice direction to take my training now, because I still get to train. But then I get to coach some of the kids, and I have a target, which is to get my coaching certificate then.
Oh, great!
At some point. I don't have a date on it, but so it gives you a nice incentive to continue going. I find that's what keeps me then going to training in judo. Because
so
with competition, you're going, well, what's why am I training? Why am I putting all this time and effort?
Yeah, it's hard. And like you, I'm a bit more involved in the club, just taking pictures, and helping here and there on Facebook and stuff. And it keeps you in the loop as well. Like I wouldn't obviously teach maybe Muay Thai, like in the future, like do a few sessions, or even doing circuit, training. Like I could teach that, but it's not for everyone teaching. Like I've seen a lot of really successful fighters trying to teach, and
no, everybody can do it. Yeah.
Doesn't work. But you enjoyed that anyway.
I enjoyed it. It's just that I love the kids. Like it's just one of those things.
I couldn't. I fucking couldn't.
So if Fiona asks me to teach her something, I just get super impatient. I'm like, no, like that. No, like that. Why are you doing it like that? So, and
the other left.
Yeah. But somehow in the club. Now I suppose. Yeah, the kids are super enthusiastic as well, so it helps. And the ones that come there want to learn as well, so it does help, but and then you make it, if depends, if you're just teaching for smaller kids, you kind of make it fun, so you turn it into a game, or you gamify things like that.
It's different.
Younger adults, obviously they want to learn, so you get that attention from them, so it's not it's.
So you can be cool by showing them the cool moves.
Yeah, and then they get to demonstrate on me, so they get to show me, so they love that. I think that was last week. There was a big gym class, fitness class, and all that, and they came in just to, I don't know, have a gawk and maybe laugh at us in our pajama suits, and then I was working with this 14-year-old girl. She's actually very good, very strong, but it was just the stage where you do 10 throws, and then she gets to do 10 throws. So it was on her throws, and so they just sat there with big wide eyes. They saw this 14-year-old kid just throw this 40-year-old man to the ground. Yeah. So that's it. That look cool. So I wouldn't be surprised if one or two of them show up next week.
I don't want to learn everything. I just want to learn how to do it.
But so yeah, things like that. You know, the things like that make it fun, and yeah, it's a good target to have, I suppose.
That's great. Look, our coach is talking about meeting a few people for BJJ, kind of BJJ camp at the end of July, I think, in the west, you know, near La Hinche or something. So if we go, I'll buzz you and see if you want to join for a few sessions. Like,
why not?
Because I'm going to be a white belt forever, so. So at least, you know, there'll be someone else, like, but like we're thinking about, you know, training and maybe do a bit of surfing as well. There's some people who've never surfed, but you know, sure, I haven't surfed in years now, so.
That's another tough exercise, surfing. It looks easy.
Oh, my first day, I couldn't, after a few hours, I couldn't feel my arms. You know, you're going back to the board all the time. It's the most tiring thing.
Yeah, and you think you're fit, you know, you've done all these stuff and trained all your life, and then you think you can paddle out, and suddenly you realize, oh God, I have no arms.
Also, I didn't know I had muscles there.
But yeah, no, but give me, you know, a shout when you're here. If you want to stay here, yourself and your husband, that's no problem as well. But you'll see. Anyway.
I see. Because you know, he doesn't train BJJ. He's well striking. We're having different views of the world now. You know. I told people that he called me BJJ people now. You know, we had an argument between Muay Thai people and BJJ people, and then he said, "Oh yeah, that's what's wrong with you BJJ people."
You people.
You people.
Yeah.
So it looks like I've transferred to
BJ.
To another camp, you know, to different planets. You know?
What's the argument though? I mean, there's no reason to fight between sports, I think. Sport. I see it as just as different as soccer is to basketball or something like that, you know.
I don't know. I can't remember what it was about. It wasn't serious anyway. But it was the you people, you know. I think I said something like the learning curve, like I didn't feel such a huge learning curve in Muay Thai as I felt as with BJJ, because BJJ, when you know nothing, you really know nothing. I mean, it's, you know, you roll, you know, I couldn't even call it rolling at the beginning of sparring. I just rolled myself on the ground, you know, like.
Striking, you got a punching chance of anything happening, you know, you can throw your fist and your feet, and you might get lucky.
And you probably saw boxing on TV before. More likely have seen boxing on TV before and not BJJ, you know?
But even if you have seen BJJ, there's no way you know what's going on, because everybody's just, you know, so it's not as easy to decipher.
No, I find it fascinating though, I really do. Like, BJJ is the thing, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. The learning curve, same with judo, just the learning curve is quite steep.
But the takedowns, though, you can see the difference between people who've done judo and not judo. The takedowns are fantabulous. What the fuck am I saying? They're fantastic. Like, the takedowns are just really amazing. I could watch that forever, the highlights of judo takedowns on YouTube.
Well, yeah, but that's the core, you know.
Class. It's really class.
Some really nice throws. I had a few things that I wanted to ask, but I actually forgot, so we'll keep it for next time. But,
or you can ask questions if you want. And have a tough time editing the whole thing.
No, I don't think it'll need much editing, to be honest.
Is it Connor? You wanted to talk about Connor?
We can talk about Connor, what you make.
Oh, I don't know. I have nothing to say.
Oh my god. Yeah. I went from being a big Connor fan to just I'm done.
You're not at all?
No, I don't. Yeah. I've seen that type of behavior too many times from people. Usually in martial arts, one of the benefits is that actually your ego goes way down, And
Oh yeah, no, yeah, no, yeah.
yeah, and no, and then every now and then you're reminded that there's just assholes.
There's a handful of absolutes, just. I find it hard to understand people who find excuses of friendly loyalty, and therefore you have to back up your mate by flying over the sea and in the 8 hours. This is what I was thinking with my colleagues at work the other day. You'd think during 8 hour flight your mind would go, maybe it's not such a good idea.
Yeah.
And the fact that his mind never went there, it's disappointing. But sure, look, there's always been a part of self-destruction at some stage when, like, in a way, I don't think anybody's surprised,
a lot of us were happy just to put his antics down to just clever marketing and just that was just hard.
I think they're not exclusive. I think it's a bit of marketing and a bit of really bad behavior. I don't think it's one more than the other, but I can't remember who was saying that the other day, that you've won 2 belts at 2 different weights, UFC stars, you made shitloads of money fighting Mayweather. What's next then? What do you do after that? When you have tons of money now and you're selling clothes and stuff like that.
And you've got away with shit.
Yeah.
Doing that and everybody believe you. Yeah, I know.
I mean that's because no one wants to see him fail. Like, I don't care. Like, I'd rather see him, succeed than fail. But there's also a way to do it. Like, and really.
That's just knacker stuff. That's mafia shit.
Yeah, that's really disgraceful.
It's yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, because I know King Kelly as well very well because he's a Muay Thai coach, and to see him next to Connor was like. I don't know what to think about this. I think.
Yes, what goes through his mind then? What?
It could go either way. What the fuck did I do? Or, oh my god, I'm delighted to be here. This is fantastic. What a story to tell your children.
Yeah. Well, I'd have no problem with just the antics and shenanigans and this kind of stuff. It's the fact that they actually injured.
Yeah, that
I know it's part of the sport. You injure each other in the ring, but it just at least it's within the confine of a rather safe environment, as opposed
yeah. And also, what you went in the ring for, and also when you're in, a bus full of athletes or still on the way cut bus, and like you have to fight the following day. It's just
shit you don't need to deal with.
Yeah, it's
really did that to him. I'm not sure he'd be too pleased either. And it's just annoying because it's it's been so many years. Like, even as martial artists, we try just to bring a nice light and benefits of the arts to people who don't necessarily understand what we are doing or have an interest, and to explain that it's good. It's actually good for confidence, good for character. It makes you a better person. It makes you just more humble and less aggressive, if anything, because you kind of realize that you don't know what those other people are doing, and they might look inconspicuous, but they could fuck you up. But you just learn to respect and channel that whatever anger, energy, or passion you have in you in a confined environment, and that happens. And everybody's going back to, well, that's MMA and that's martial arts, and
that's it. Yeah, you just come and you just primitive.
It sets everybody back, not just you, not just your sport, but in all martial arts in general. I think it's such a shame.
Yeah, because they're like, I've met the best people in martial arts, people who could talk to forever, who've experienced so many things and who've come the other way with 0 ounce of ego and self-importance or so, and then you have that as well,
Yeah, no, it's it's definitely right. Like I've met some really, really humble and nice people, through martial arts, and people you wouldn't even think are martial artists, but just so humble and nice, and then they can just jack you. But the guy I was rolling with in BJJ yesterday was actually a fourth Dan Kyokushin teacher, and he actually has some nice grappling as well. I was very, very surprised, because we rolled afterwards. We did a fight together, and I thought, I was like, oh, I got judo, I can handle this, and oh god, no, he knows his stuff. So I had to put a bit of pressure. But it was nice to see that somebody like that. But he was just very unassuming, just a lovely guy, just so willing to learn, and it was good to see. But
those people are so inspiring as well, like, because they reach a certain point where some people would go, that's it, I've done my bit now, and it's the desire to learn even more all the time that makes the person really like.
Oh yeah, and that's why I want to learn. There's actually an Aikido club not far from here, and I have mixed feelings about Aikido, but I still like the art itself.
Yeah.
And the joint manipulation. So I was like, maybe when I leave karate, or maybe when I'm 50 or something, I'll go there and train in Aikido. That wouldn't be a bad thing to do when I'm 60 or something.
It's a bit like me, jack of all trades. I start a lot of things and I finish very little. But no, BJJ, like everything now on that. Fun. Yeah.
Cecile Gordon, we've been chatting for about an hour 10 minutes
and something
more, and I have a feeling we could chat for 5 more, but I think now wouldn't be a bad place to leave it. Thank you so much for doing this. It was great talking to you again.
It took us a while to get there, but
it took us a while to find a slot, but we did. I'm glad we did. Thank you very much, and let's not wait another 10 years to chat again.
No, I enjoyed that. I'll see you during the summer anyway. Go surfing.
All right, see ya.
Bye.